Alright, another week has gone by and I have been hard at work with my racing game. If you've been following along with this series, you might be able to tell that the island looks way different. As I was working and playtesting the old island, I didn't feel like it fit the scale of the racetrack and also didn't really have the look that I wanted. So I ended up deleting the whole island. Okay, I didn't actually remove it, I just copied the level just in case I would, change my mind later on. But I wanted this island to be way bigger, so I watched some tutorials on YouTube and ended up creating a tropical island with these mountains made of volcanic rock, and I really like the blend that this created with the sandy sections on the mountains as well. So as you can tell, the scale of this island is way bigger than the old one, and I also knew that once I began adding some greenery to it, it would look really good. And as I was working on this island, I also followed some sections where the racetrack would go, so I can sort of make them interact in a cool way, like going in between mountains and stuff like that. After that, I began extending the racetrack. I've been playing around with some obstacles that I made in Blender and set on using this giant ramp as a kicker. I used it to make my favorite section of the level so far, which I call the Leap of Faith. But we'll get to that jump in just a little bit. So once I had the new island layout, it was time to make it look good with some foliage, which I did yesterday. Alright, so I went through the pack and I just kind of selected the ones that I thought looked good and would fit in on the island, and I just kind of placed them out here. I got them all lined up here. As you can see, I have the level of detail set to 1, which means basically if I just keep on zooming out here, there's no real difference in the level of detail of which you can see the tree. Now, level of detail is basically, as you can see, if I zoom out over here, after I get to a certain point, it's gonna change. Now it's basically just like a billboard, so it's like just one side, just 2D. Now the triangle count of this mesh isn't actually that big if I go into wireframe here. So for that reason, I don't think I need to use level of detail scaling sort of for this island. Now this can of course change further down the line, but I can just adjust that over here and it shouldn't really be a big issue to change if I want to. Now when it comes to things like grass, I'm pretty sure I want to paint grass where we have these like sandy sections on top of the volcanic rock. Like up here on this rock would be kind of good area, I guess. And once I've added all the vegetation to the island, I'm gonna work on getting in like rocks and cool rock formations and stuff like that as well. See, I got quite a lot of work to do here with painting the foliage. I think details does a lot to a game, especially even if it's just a racing game. Like, it just makes you feel sort of more, you know, immersed into the world, which, yeah, is of course a good thing, so. I'm just sort of adding these like edges wrapping around, as you can see, as well as putting some on top, because I don't want to go too crazy with the grass either. But yeah, I'm just kind of doing the sections now where I'm actually racing currently on the track. Alright, I made some progress. I've been adding stuff for about an hour and a half now maybe. And I feel like I've blended the landscape quite nicely with all the different assets that I have. Now, looking at the FPS counter up here, I haven't really dropped any frames as I'm working on this. So this is how it looks right now. It just looks so much better. I'll get into some more details in just a little bit as well with some improvements that I made. But as you can also tell, the FPS is super smooth. Before, I used to average about 60 to 70 FPS here in the editor. I think now this is running at around 100 FPS. And I don't think I have enough speed to make this jump. Yes, we did. We got it. And dude, just the greenery, when you look around, it just looks so much better having some trees, grass and plants and whatnot. And of course, over here is where the new checkpoint will be. I placed a little marker right there. And right in front of me, we have the Leap of Faith. So let me see, I need to back up here. For now, let's make this our respawn position. And let's see if we can make the Leap of Faith. You kind of have to go right in the middle of it to ensure that you get the right tilt into the ramp. So it is a bit tricky, but it's easily my favorite part of the map so far. As you can see, the car will begin to tilt forwards. Sometimes it does it more than others, but as you can see, yeah, you can still get a clean landing, of course. Yeah, so kind of depending on what angle you have going off this ramp, it makes the car lean more forwards. As you can see, this time we will get a bit more forwards tilt, so we can get a cleaner landing in here, just like so. Now, what if I told you that we can make this Leap of Faith look even better? Some of you guys suggested for me to add this feature here, and I've been thinking about it as well. What it is of course instant slow motion. This slows the game down by 90%, and then with the press of another key, it goes back to normal speed. I think it's gonna be really cool to just have in the game. And oh, I just messed up the ramp. There we go. Just a cool feature to have in a game for like maybe like precision gaps or just, yeah, big jumps like that. Now, what if I told you that we can still make that look even cooler? You might have noticed that the sky and the overall lighting looks way different. And that's because I've added this new sky and weather system called Ultra Dynamic Sky and Ultra Dynamic Weather. And inside of this system, you can tweak so much stuff. Look at all of these settings here. I mean, I can't go through everything in this video. Now, if we make the sun go down and wait a little bit, the stars will begin to come out. And the night sky in this looks so good. As you can see now when we hit play, we have the moonlight here. We can see the stars. There's some clouds in the sky. And this does look really, really sick. Now, my game isn't really optimized to be played at nighttime just yet. And of course, you can change the cloud coverage in here. You can just tweak this. If you drag it all the way up, you get this overcast weather and, you know, get some mood in here. You can increase the fog. So, I mean, you guys can imagine if you pair all of these together as well with the weather, which I'm gonna show you guys, you can make the world look very, very interesting. But I said that I wanted to make the leap of faith look cooler, so let me show you guys this. If we go in and we drag in the ultra dynamic weather, just pull this in over here. In here you can tweak so many things, like you can of course, you know, decrease the rain. Now let me show you something really cool with the thunder and lightning. This looks really cool. So what I want to try and do is at the leap of faith, toggle slow motion like this and see if we can get a lightning to strike as we're above the whole map. Now I also think that there might be a way. Oh, look at that. That was kind of clean. I think there also might be a way for me to implement a slider to the game so that you guys can also choose what weather and what time of day you guys want to play in. And one of the things that I'll be working on, look at that, for next time is gonna be to add sound effects to the car and some other sound effects too, of course. Okay, let's see if we can time one now at the leap of faith. Also disable rain and we can get some snow in here, so maybe I'll make like a snowy map sometime. I don't know. There's so many cool ways to implement this into your level. So I'm for sure gonna play around some more with this. Now, you might also notice that there is a few things missing on the screen. There's no longer a speedometer, and I still haven't managed to implement a perfect working timer and checkpoint system. I did spend like a whole night trying to figure out how they would all work together. I made a ton of changes to how the timer works, but I still haven't figured it out. But the plan is, of course, to add a timer to the game, which both tracks the progress between checkpoints and, of course, the start to finish. Now, I do have the old speedometer in here, but this is no longer set up or linked to my car, so it doesn't really work anymore. So this could actually be a good time for me to see if I remember how to make it from scratch. And yeah, we'll see if I can make it work. I don't think this was too complicated, but first we need to make a blueprint clause. We need to make a widget, make a user widget. Let's name this new speed. A widget is basically the UI that you can place like on top of the screen like a HUD. Now I have set this up already a few times, but let's see if I remember. First we need a canvas, which will display everything that we put in it. Next we need of course text to display the speedometer, so just put that down there. We need to make this a variable so we can change what's being put in the text block. I don't know if this green thing has to be covering it. It just feels better to do so. Let's anchor it in the right corner. There we go. So that's where the text will display. Then we need to go into the graph. And in here, I believe we can take away everything. But we need a tick to begin the whole progress here. Then we need to cast that to my car, since that is what I want to get the speed from, which is the N74. That will also be the owning player pawn. We'll connect that as the object. See, what's the next step? We need to get info from my car, which will be the vehicle movement component. There we go, there's the variable, we'll get that, which means that we can now get a bunch of data from this. So we will get the get forward speed, get max speed, as well as get miles per hour. There we go, which I will change. Now, since I don't want miles per hour, I want kilometers per hour, we need to look up the difference. So 1 mile per hour is 1.609 kilometers per hour, which means that we can multiply this by that much. So 1.609. Then we need to get the absolute float, which means that it can only be positive. I guess because we don't want the speed to show like negative values. So we'll get that. I want to print that to text. In here, we want to remove the fractional digits. I don't want there to be any fractional digits. Then we take the kilometers per hour variable over here. We get kilometers per hour. And this corresponds to this text block, which is called kilometers per hour. Then we want to set that as text. And what I want set in the text is, of course, the forward speed value. Forward speed and max speed, we need to use divide on, so we can get numbers between the max and I guess the lowest speed. And then in order to connect this, we promote that to a variable. And then we take that up there. We need to set scalar parameter value for these two. Plug that in there. And then that to the text. I think that's all. Then we compile that. Go back to the car. And now we need to get this into the game. So we will do here event begin play, because we want it to show as soon as we begin to play. And we get the widget. Do we get that from here? Get widget? No, I think we just do it here. Create widget. There we go. Then we select it, which I believe I called, did I name it? New speed. New speed. Connect that. And then add 2 viewports so we can see it. And I'll be very happy if this works. Dude, I got it. Let's go. And now, as you can see, that displays the kilometers per hour of the car. How fast do we actually go here? 240. Jesus. That is very fast. And that should also scale along with the slow-mo. Yeah, seems to do so. Nice. That's about the only thing that I actually know how to set up, like using the widgets. So I think if I just read up on it a bit more, I think I should be able to get the lap time in there as well, you know, in the widget. Right, I've been thinking about this part over here. This is kind of empty, and I also think that when you make this jump, you can actually kind of cheat, and you can sort of ride against this wall right here when you come in full speed to just safely get up here. So I'm thinking we could maybe place like a barrier or a block over here somewhere, so you have to actually cut the apex perfectly here through this corner. Let's see, if we go more left here, and then instead of cutting the corner, we're just gonna go along the wall. As you can see, that slows you down and can also like bump you off the wall. So even though it may not help you as much, I still kind of want to put a block there just to make it so you have to sort of brake and hit the apex, which does require some practice. Yeah, I'm gonna go into Blender, try and create something and add it to the game. Since we still have this sort of low poly look in the world, I kind of like this bevel. This looks a bit more interesting than, yeah, just having straight edges. Oh, I have a good idea. This is going to be really good when I added this bit here. We will make this red, and we will actually have this glow in Unreal Engine later. So we'll assign the red to that. This line going underneath it, this will glow in green. Add it to that thing as well. Not sure this is going to look in Unreal, but yeah, we'll export it and see. There it is. We will multiply. That. Here we go. Now we got some glow on it, and obviously if we change the time of day, you see that the glow really starts to come in here. So depending on what time of day you play, this will of course look cooler. It still glows quite well during the day too. Now I need to tilt it a little bit. Here's the collision, not that many triangles, so we should be able to use complex for this one. All right, I like how that looks. Now let's see how difficult it is to actually go through. Now I can also use these barriers, of course, anywhere throughout the map, but I just feel like I maybe want to add a bit more difficulty. So let's see here if I can make it. The jump. And I just missed the whole thing. Let's see. That jumps better. Then we have to get the apex to go through there. Oh, I really like that. Doesn't like interfere with the camera either, so that was really clean. And of course, at nighttime, it looks even cooler when they're glowing with the light. Right, so that's that part fixed. Now, I guess I want to show you guys what happens over here after the leap of faith. I've made a little wall right here between these mountains, and this just sort of leads you, for now, out to the water. As you can see, if we go super fast here, you go along the wall and then fly into this cube over here. I just gonna place this out so I can track like where I land. Yeah, so the idea over here is to do the opposite, where you have to go along the wall in order to get you the right angle to fly into something over here. So I guess what I could do is use these track barriers and just simply rotate them and have them on this side instead, which will force you into the wall like that. That's actually kind of smart. I just thought about that. Now, as far as what's gonna happen when you fly down there, I have a couple of ideas. The first was to add a teleport either in the ocean or somewhere in mid-air, which could then bring you to a new area, maybe higher up into the sky, and then you can go down and back into the island. Now, the second idea that I had was to potentially build an underwater tunnel, because as you can see, we can actually still drive underwater perfectly fine. So either build like a cool underground track, like have a glass tunnel or something that you can go through, and then sort of plop back up over here somewhere and go towards the island again. And the third option that I have is to add a loop somewhere out here. So you would fly, land on a platform, do a loop-the-loop, and somehow get back to the island. Now I'm gonna let you guys decide what I should do on this section. If you go to my Discord, which will be linked in the description, there's a channel in there where I also share some development progress for the game. So vote on what you want to see, and I'll do my best to create it.